Voices of the underground coming on the rebound. Lisa,
Jane, Geena,
Catherine, Yasmin, Naomi. Voices of the underground coming on the rebound, yeah. We got voices. We got voices.
Hello, I'm Hanson Nassis, your host, coming to you from Cadet Street, Castries.
And I'm Tracy Pilgrim George, your co-host for Poetry Live, Voices of the Underground.
6 episodes featuring 6 dynamic women spanning several generations of poets.
Telling their stories of tribulations and triumph through insights into their lives.
Expressed in their own words and coded in the language of poetry.
You might be wondering why Cadet Street? What Cadet Street has anything to do with poetry?
Maybe you were saying poetry is not my thing. How is Mia? Hold on pressing that remote. I promise you, you'll be entertained. Wait, hold on, after this break.
Voices of the underground coming on the rebound.
Lucia's Broadley Bay office is now open, but we are still available to serve you remotely. Call or send a WhatsApp message to 285-6796, 285-7859, 285-3593, or 285-3329. Or send an email to customersupport@lucelec.com for assistance. Call 457-4433 to get bill balances. Use our free online service at myaccount.lucelec.com for detailed account information and online bill payments through your bank. Customers may also take advantage of ShorePay's online or walk-in service. Lucelec encourages you to practice social distancing. Stay home, stay safe.
Souvenirs at Island Gallery Shops, local cuisine at Oasis Food Court. Come upstairs, walk the strip for the best services at your fingertips. Caribbean Rum Shack, Perfumery, and more. At the JQ Rodney Bay Mall, we've got it all. Shopping design with you in mind.
Shopping design with you in mind.
We're back on Cadet Street. Thank you so much for staying with us. Actually, this street is the home of Art Reach Poetry Live, produced by the Cultural Development Foundation that has annually produced a live poetry here on this street featuring poets such as Isley Nelson, John Robert Lee, Kendall Hippolyte, Adrian Auger, and Vladimir Lucien.
You missed the live performances, huh?
I actually do, yes.
Well, it just got better.
How so?
This street is more than a street. It once cradled the meandering fragrances of...
Of what? Is that some kind of a metaphor? What you have there? What's that?
It's Bayram.
Bayram?
Yes. See, this building over here once was the Bayram factory, which started in 1972.
That's way before I was born. I thought he was going to tell me that this street was named after Cadet, who was a town councillor who served on the Castries town board, and he was also grandfather to the iconic musician Charles Cadet.
You didn't always know that, did you?
Well, and what if I didn't?
You went to the archives. You got help.
I'm not going to get into it with you. This is our first episode, okay? All right. Okay, we now have a segment which we entitled Tragedy and Triumph, highlighting the struggles and joys of a female poet of the past, Elizabeth Barrett Browning. She wrote the most amazing poetry about love. She understood the universal language of love. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. Elizabeth Barrett is one of the most famed poets of the Victorian era. She was born in England in 1806 to Edward Barrett and Mary Clark as the eldest of their 12 children and was homeschooled. She was a child prodigy. However, in 1837, she becomes dangerously ill with spinal issues. further exacerbated by respiratory illness as time goes by. By 1838, she publishes her first collection, The Seraphim and Other Poems. The pinnacle of both her personal and artistic life comes when she finds love after her work catches the attention of English poet Robert Browning. He writes her an admiring letter, and so the secret romance tale of these two poets begins. Being forbidden from marriage by her father and eventually disinherited, Barrett rebels and elopes with Brown, moving to Italy. Later, their son Robert Penn Browning is born. Once again, Barrett has found triumph despite her vast misfortune of chronic illness, grief, loss, and conflict with her father. Barrett also often takes up the role of a social warrior, as in 1843 when she publishes a poem called The Cry of the Children, which blatantly condemns child labor. She also advocates for the abolition of slavery in her two poems, The Runaway Slave at Pilgrim's Point and A Curse for a Nation. Barrett dies in 1861 and Robert never remarries. Barrett became one of the most prominent poets of her era, despite her many adversities. To this day, How Do I Love Thee, from Sonnets of the Portuguese, is commonly used for reading at weddings.
We got voices, yeah. Poetry.
Most of us do not realize that the songs and music we listen to are laced with literary devices. For instance, the popular song The Anthem of Dennery by Umpa.
Sons and daughters of Dennery, wherever you may roam.
This entire song is a parody.
This is 760's national anthem. Dennery North, Dennery South, one Dennery.
The song Dennery National Anthem, performed by Umpa, can be seen as a parody. It is a parody of the St. Lucian National Anthem. An anthem evokes and utilizes the history, traditions, and struggles of its people. However, Umpa's Dennery National Anthem is motivated by the zoning of the country into North and South. Dennery people felt they belonged to neither zone and forged their own identity within the national structure. Jean Dennery, we stand alone. The song uses the beginning of the St. Lucian National Anthem as an allusion, but only refers to the natural beauty of Dennery and all of the popular spots like Fish Fiesta, Fondor, Falco's Bar, Plan Space, and Val's Place, to highlight the attractions of this little country by itself, Dennery.
One thing about Dennery, we full enough beauty. The tallest waterfall for the park and leave you by the Madeli.
It also uses the macaronic verse when mixing the Creole with the English, which appeals to the bilingual audiences. The macaronic verse is also used to create a burlesque scene, creating that humorous element to the song, one of the key elements of a parody.
To the valley, nature wall, look irie. Now it's time to party. Mama Deans, are you free? No goods, the food ready. Just the link of Falco, Iboval, Baila Show, Lucky 7 spot, you know. Now, sons and daughters of Dennery, wherever you may roam, you know that the love is home. Sure, Dennery, we stand alone. Now,
Hope you enjoyed that. Who doesn't enjoy a good Dennery segment? Stay tuned. When we come back, we feature an ordinary woman with extraordinary
The
talent.
rest,
Voices from the underground.
coming on the rebound.
Lucilec's Rodney Bay office is now open, but we are still available to serve you remotely. Call or send a WhatsApp message to 285-6796, 285-7859, 285-3593, or 285-3329. Or send an email to customersupport@lucilec.com for assistance. Call 457-4433 to get bill balances. Use our free online service at myaccount.luselect.com for detailed account information and online bill payments through your bank. Customers may also take advantage of ShopePay's online or walk-in service. Lucelec encourages you to practice social distancing. Stay home, stay safe.
CDF is both a champion for cultural preservation and development change agent. Established in April 2002 by the CDF Act of 2000 as the agency responsible to align the aspirations of cultural and creative individuals, groups, communities, policymakers, and civil society through the implementation of the National Cultural Policy of St. Lucia, we envision a strong, united and proud St. Lucian community empowered by culture and creativity. For more information on how you can partner with CDF on some of our projects and efforts, go to cdfstlucia.org or contact Cultural Development Foundation, Barnard Hill, Castries, PO Box CP 5405. Call us at 457-9021 or send us a fax at 459-0615. Email us at info@cdfstlucia.org.
1, 2, mic check. Voices of the underground.
Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us here on Cadet Street, where my co-host and I continue to observe the protocols. I've got my mask back here in case we need it. Where's your mask? There we go. Got our hand sanitizer. We both just hand sanitized, and we're 6 feet apart. Downtown, seated on crates, enjoying the Castries vibe, music, poetry, history. It may all seem ordinary, but is actually quite extraordinary.
Ordinary women with extraordinary talent. This next segment, our featured poet, Geena McPhee. When did you first discover you have a knack for writing poetry?
I think I first discovered it when I went to secondary school, that is Coram Secondary School. But then I always had a love for reading and for writing and for, creative writing and essays. So when I went to Coram Secondary School, the school provided a poetry club and there was a theater group. So being part of these groups and being part of these platforms that really introduced self-expression, it opened that gate for poetry.
So I realize in the poems that you're performing for this show or this episode, right? You focus more on social commentary. What is it about society you have that fixation?
Society really has a lot of things that you can write about. But in the series and the pieces that I'm performing, it's really about issues that you see come alive. Okay. For instance, in writing about the mask, it speaks about a St. Lucia that has to show herself as so beautiful and as so significant. But the world has not realized that, even inside St. Lucia, she has people who has to allow her to look that way, but they themselves are wearing a mask. These people are making themselves look like, we're so happy and we're so hospitable. Yes, they are, but there are greater issues than that. And I think in using my poetry, in using that social commentary, there is a greater message that I want to be able to communicate. So that is why I think I focus on societal issues so much, because they exist and you don't really get a lot of people who want to speak about it. So through poetry, through using that creative language, through using the little puns and the little inserts that you would put in there, people realize that there is something happening and somebody sees it and somebody wants to write about it, and I want you to listen. Yes.
What does your creative process entail?
That's an interesting one. It's really that's a good one to think about. Okay, so my creative process is really seeing something happen. So at first you absorb it. At first you get that little, I can't believe they do that. You know, that little something that just hits you. And then I think it goes into, okay, you know what, I have to write something about that, because I'm still in disbelief that this actually happened. So it's really the pen and paper. It's really pen and paper. It's really just jotting down. It's really getting upset at something and just writing it just blank, just writing it as naked as it is, and then just going back through that piece and seeing what metaphoric language you can now insert in there. Because the reality is, everything reminds you of something else.
In the segment Tragedy and Triumph, we feature the poet Elizabeth Barrett Browning, who is a romantic poet of the time, right? Do you ever write love poetry, and what is really your take on love?
Yes, I write love poetry. I do, and it's something that I have not put there. I keep it to myself. That's like my personal, when I'm in my feelings, when I've experienced something where, you know, where your heart just feels like, okay, you can write that down on paper, because you're just in that moment, you know, you experience something.
If you could have given people a lasting impression about yourself, what would you like them to know about Geena McPhee?
What would I want them to know? First off, I would want them to know that Geena McPhee is a Christian.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have, that's the first thing. Geena McPhee is an advocate. Geena McPhee is a social enthusiast. I love people. I love being able to interact. Geena McPhee, I love the world and the people that live in it and the environment, and you know, and the things that come up and the things that come alive, just being able to be alive every day. So I think that's one thing that I would want to leave an indelible mark on people, that I have a great appreciation for where I am now and the mark that I can leave through the things that I do. So every day that I live, I try to live the best way that I can live, so that impacts. So if tomorrow I'm not here, somebody will remember that, oh, Geena used to speak out a lot about this, or she used to write poetry about that, or you know, or she left that feeling, or she inspired me in a certain way. So I think that's what I want people to know, that, you know, Geena was not just a quiet person, you know, that she had this bubbly energy, and when, you know, she entered a room, she could be talking the most nonsense as possible, but then there was something that was there. There was a vibe, there was an energy that was there. And I think that's just one of the greatest things that you can leave, away from, you know, awards and milestones, but that feeling that you could have left to somebody. So I think I want to leave a feeling, a good feeling. So if I'm not here, that you remember that feeling that you had when we had an encounter.
And now the moment you've been waiting for, I've been waiting for, the performance by Geena McPhee.
When I, Helen, think about myself, I almost laugh myself to death. My life has been one great big joke. My children cried, nobody spoke. I laughed so hard, I nearly choked. When I, Helen, think about myself. Since 41 years of independence in this strange world, the men who fought for me saw me as a pearl. And I stood there in the middle for my children's sake, too proud to bend, too strong to break. Yet, I laughed so hard, my stomach ached. When I, Helen, think about myself. The gang wars by my sons, they make me cry. I laugh so hard, I nearly die. The tales leaders tell sound just like lying. They hide the fruit of crime beneath them. I laugh so hard, but then I start crying when I think of my children suffering. But then, my people too wear the mask. The grins and lies, it shades the sorrow in their eyes. St. Lucia, Helen of the West, land of green hills and nation blessed. This debt I pay to tourist satisfaction, and with torn and bleeding hearts, my people smile, but out of confusion. Why should the world be overwhelmed, encountering my people's tears inside? They let them only seek while they wear the mask. we smile. But oh God, our tears inside are raging. I see my parents cry on sidelines, worried where my children are. And then suddenly, so deep in thought, they nod like a candle, all waxed out and burnt profound. And then they remember it was their sweat and toil that made mine and my children's worlds go round. How they laughed to keep from crying, how they shuffled their dreams. They wore the mask to hide sorrowful screams. I, Helen, cry, but I understand their meaning. It could and did derive from walking along that road of pain. They thrived. They've kept me and my children alive because they wore the mask. We wear the mask. I, Helen, wear the mask. Society, where dreams are made and always come true, where brothers are always their brother's keeper, where children believe in superheroes. Society, where all exist and all people love, care, share, and live together. Welcome to society. Aren't you proud to be part of this revolutionary movement, this societal movement? I apologize for my lack of a straight face, because every time I brag about society, it puts me in my place. You see, society creates avenues for he who has, whilst he who has not sits busy puffing on 420 Avenue, lamenting about the dreams that once cushioned us, yet never came true. Society clears the field for Cain to carry his own brother into non-existence. You see, society is the kryptonite for superheroes, but it breeds villains. Broken people who hurt and commit hurt without condition. Society enslaves us, and in the shackles of social media, it chains us. And through the power of its influence, it kills us. Society births angry people. It makes us suck on its breast, feeding us lies, the lies once told about itself. Society plants within our being seeds of evil, hate, and untold truths. Society builds houses and breaks home. Society commits adultery. Society preaches that only the redeemed are worthy to call on his name. Society disvalues education and breeds ignorance. It robs credibility of its virginity. It defaces identity and defines sexuality. It defines sexuality, intellectuality, marriageability, and then most horrifically, society believes that all rights and disclaimers belong to it to decide individuality. I apologize for my lack of a straight face, but every time I think about the truth, it slaps me in my face. The truth about society's core, the I that stitches together the SOC and ETY, and that I, as in you and I. It is I who was Thanos and vanished at home into dust. It is I who slept with hate, woke up with envy, and at the sound of the dominoes, Sapat! Would stab my brother in the back for money. It is I fighting against my own villains. It is I who consoles the hurt of a broken home of pain. It is I afraid to call upon his name. It is I who has imprisoned myself in the cells of ignorance and shackled myself so tightly in the chains of my ancestors. So of course, I would never taste freedom. It is I who gives social media the right to define individuality with 1,000K likes and hearts. Because I am yet to know who I am. My greatest responsibility. So here I am, standing again, blaming society.
We got voices, yeah, poetry.
This is the beauty of performance poetry. You can feel Geena's vibe. You can feel her energy, her passion, her emphasis on clusters of words, the phrases that gives the poem a sort of rhythmic pattern.
Yes, indeed. Let's take in her final performance.
All they want is Flavo, 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 Flavo. So I'm voting Labour on my ballot paper. C'est quoi? Politics, right? It's just politics. As if to say that politics is merely light, right? Illumination, one from a flame and the other from a star. Red and yellow. So let's define politics. The art of color-blinded citizens disagreeing with each other for color's sake. But maybe that's not accurate. Politics, manipulation, and bubble. A situation of division where only hacks of the light in rain are called. Politics, that which is injected in our veins from birth. So from the very moment we arrived on earth, politics would have been an inevitable growth defect, I guess, with an effect that we are all born politicians, cultivated by a culture of political division. So, political leading, political policing, political parenting, political educating, political ignorance, political employment, political crime, a world of political divide. You see, parents add to political division for their contribution in child comparison and constant evaluation, because blues, blacks, and whites echo scholarly, and because apparently that minority learns accurately, well, according to society, because some are the worms that live in the book and the others create inventions from its pages. But when society cannot tell that these hands have minds that create invention, it is a key to the gates of political division. And mind you, the childhood bribery, or if you write your name nice, you promise a piece of candy. But of course, politics, political magie. But it's mere politics, that which is injected in our veins from birth. So from the very moment we arrived on earth, politics would have been an inevitable growth defect. I guess with an effect that we are all born politicians, cultivated by a culture of political division. We are all politicians, slices of the pie. Man, a political animal. Then it is man who has created the political divide. We are all politicians.
We got voices, yeah. Poetry.
That, viewers, was Geena McPhee, who just have tout bagay ni pou fini. All good things must come to an end.
Ekifini, huh?
Ifini,
You liked it?
I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it myself thoroughly. Join us next week, viewers, for our second feature poet, Catherine Atkinson, in this 6-episode series of
Poetry Live, Voices of the Underground.
Poetry. Poetry.